Well, I don't think there's any reason to beat around the bush on that one. That was a garbage hockey game. Just kind of start to finish for the Colorado Avalanche. I guess the first period wasn't the worst period of all time, but they didn't score any goals, so that's no good. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche post-game show presented by Bet365. We got Big E and Rudo coming to you live as the Avs lose 3-0 to the Winnipeg Jets, the second time they're shut out by the Winnipeg Jets this season. Make no mistake, though, the game that they lost 1-0 because Connor Hellebuyck played great. Tonight, the Avs barely muster over 20 shots and, frankly, on every front deserved to lose this hockey game. They got outplayed on every aspect. Yeah, they were on a 3-4. Winnipeg was on a Sega Baba. No excuses tonight. This is a better hockey team than they showed on the ice, and you should expect more out of this hockey team. It's pretty disappointing, eh?
It was. I agree with you. Remember pre-game key number 3, like passion and emotion. Like, I understand the 3 and 4. They were on the Sega Baba, so the playing field was equal. But I didn't feel that they were very passionate about the outcome of this game. I didn't feel that there was any emotions in this game. And I get it. I'm not saying you're going to get it every night, but Winnipeg Jets are at the top of the league, for a reason. Hellebuyck's at the top of the league for a reason. If you're going to beat him, if you're going to beat the Jets, you're going to need to bring some passion, some emotion, some mustard, some mayo, you're going to load up the sandwich, right? It just wasn't there. It was a dry ham sandwich. And that might work against somebody, a lower end of the league, but it won't work against a top team right now. And that's, again, that's what I'm saying. You got to learn. You got to live and learn. You got to figure out where it went wrong. Why did you have no gas? You know what I mean? And, turn the page and fly home and get a couple days off, and then you have a little homestand again. So overall, not the end of the world, as we know. But it is disappointing because they had set it as a goal to win the road trip, and they lost the road trip. That you talk about short-term goals and little segments. You go 1 and 2 in the road trip. That's a losing road trip. That's not fun. That's not good. You don't want to lose anything this time of year. You want to win every little thing that's in front of you, and that was a failed assignment for sure.
I think the easiest way to put it is, the Avs had 3 high-danger chances at 5-on-5 in this entire game. 3. And they all came in the first period. Trailed for the entirety of this game, and you put together 3 high-danger chances. I have not said this. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have not said this often about this team this year. I think the vast majority of the season, this team has shown a lot of heart. They've shown they're capable of coming back from almost any situation. They rarely ever quit on games. They always believe they can come back and win. There was no heart in this team tonight. They weren't doing the little details. They weren't winning the battles. They had no interest in winning this hockey game, and they didn't. It's that simple.
They saw our pregame 3 keys, and they just said, let's just take a giant poop on it, right? I mean, because that's exactly what it was, Hellebuyck read our keys, and, he understood the assignment, and then he pitched a shutout. So what I was saying about what you were saying, passion and stuff like that, like, I felt that, look no further than the last 2 minutes when they pulled the goalie. I felt that it's exactly what it was. There was, like, zipping the puck around. There's no grease. There's nothing. There's no sexy pizza. It's just, I'm trying to make that play. You know what I mean? From Joe Druin to anybody. I'm not blaming those guys because, again, they're the top of the league in scoring. But sometimes it's not there. When it's not there, you can't be stubborn. For me tonight, they were stubborn from
I
past the
agree with
first
that.
period on. When you muster up three high danger scoring chances, in the first period, and really none after that, right? I mean, basically.
Yep. Literally
Then
none.
it's that's so you're not going to win unless you get the hockey gods on your side, and you have the weirdest bounces. And then I felt like when they pulled the goalie, it was the same thing. It's just trying to make the perfect pass, perfect seam pass. It's not there. It's not there, guys. You know what I mean? And you can't be stubborn with it. And I think this is one thing they can really, get better at. I think this is one thing they can really harp on as a team, as a coaching staff, and then try to get better at those situations. You know what I mean? Because I feel that, and that's the same thing with the power play tonight, right? It goes hand in hand. You know what I mean? You got to simplify things when it's not there. And Winnipeg, they're still a good team. They're still mad that you beat them last year. They know they have to go through you at some point. You know what I mean? So it's like they had a little bit more passion, a little bit more intensity to their game, a little bit more life. You know what I mean? And that was a failed test by the Avalanche tonight for sure on that aspect.
Yeah, I don't think there's any tests that they really passed tonight. And I will say, look, big picture, I don't care about this game that much. The Avs are fine.
Well,
It's disappointing that they didn't take advantage of an opportunity to put themselves in the race for the top of the Central Division, but you're not burning everything down because the Avs lost this game. They'll be fine in the regular season, and they'll show up in their next game, and they'll probably play really well, like exactly what happened last time after they lost to Chicago and then dominated Minnesota. But for this game in a vacuum, for this game by itself, it has sucked, man. It sucked. There is so little positive to take out of this game that it's hard for me to even talk about in a significant fashion. We have to do an hour-long show because we have advertising requirements, but there is not a lot to say about this hockey game if we're being honest with you about it. The Avalanche, again, they trailed for 59 minutes of this hockey game, and in the last 40 minutes of it, they generated 12 shots on goal. About a shot every 4 minutes. And that's only because they had one power play that went okay-ish. Obviously, they didn't score on it, so it wasn't good, but they at least got a couple of shots on goal. In the last 38 minutes of 5-on-5 play, some of that's empty net, so it was 6-on-5, they put on 8 shots on goal. In 38 minutes of 5-on-5, or 6-on-5 play even. That's a team that was not interested in doing the things that they needed to do to win tonight. I'm sorry, but that's just what it was.
I agree. And this is when you get on the plane and you look back and you have a little bit of regrets. You know what I mean? You're just like, man, you can't be that tired. I would have understood that in December in that crazy stretch. That was absolutely ridiculous. Now this is a 3-4. I get that, but you also had a nice break like a few weeks ago. The Christmas break or whatever it was, the holiday break you want to call it, like the 5. They have 4 days without even skating. So somewhere like today you are January 11th, so 11 days. So now like barely 2 weeks ago that you had that little break and you've had some practice time, and this road trip was not that bad. You know what I mean? Like miles wise, it's not bad. You go, Chicago Mini in this one. It's not crazy. I think it's just a lost opportunity. I think it's regrets when you look back at it and you're like, man, I really just, not happy with myself. I'm not happy with my performance. I'm not happy with my numbers. I'm not happy with obviously the outcome, but again, I think hockey players they're good people, and I think they'll look back at this one as a missed opportunity to catch, the I was going to say the Flames, the Jets in the standings, and kind of get yourself a little closer to them.
Look, this is one of those. If you go into that Avalanche locker room tonight, no single player in that locker room is going to tell you that they played their best game tonight. Every single one of those guys is going to know that they're better than what they put out on the ice tonight. That there's no secrets here. We all saw it. It is what it is. It's disappointing, but it's not. these hockey players live in reality. They know the score. They know what's up here. What's frustrating is I think we see a lot of the same issues we've been seeing in the Avs' recent losses in tonight's game. And I want to start there. Individual shots attempted tonight. Your top 4 players in shots attempted tonight are all defensemen. Taves, Malinsky, Makar, Manson. Actually 5. Middleton next on that list. After that is Logan O'Connor. Then you have Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Jonathan Drouin. The Avs' best players have to do a better job of putting this team on their back. They have to on nights like tonight. You win and lose these types of games with your best players. And I know their best players are great, and they'll continue to be great. Their next game, they'll probably be great. They were much better against Minnesota. But you look at a game like this, and you look at the Avs' best players continuing to not do the little details correct. I know, they're unbelievably talented. They can make unbelievable plays. I get it. They're leading the league in points if you're Nathan MacKinnon. Awesome. And that matters. That's why I'm not worried about the grand scale of this season. But you look at nights like tonight, where they don't do any of those details correctly, and you're not surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that they lose games like this. They're built to win with their stars. When their stars don't put in the effort required to win, they're not going to win.
And it's not easy. And I know you're not saying it's easy. You know, like that's a good team on the other side. There's a reason they're the top of the league. It's not easy to score goals on Hellebuyck. It's not easy, or else he wouldn't have 6 shutouts. He wouldn't be leading every category. You know what I mean? So you knew you were up for, a big mountain in a lot of categories when you're facing a team that's rolling. But you're right. You know what I mean? It wasn't good enough, and it started from the top guys. And when that happens, it's tough to win. That's any team, not just the Avalanche. This is just not us harping on those guys. And we do. We are. You and I, we say it all the time. I'll say it all the time. I am harsh on top guys because I'm also so appreciative of top guys because they do deliver, and I understand what they go through and the pressure and everything that they have. But at the end of the day, when it hasn't been very consistent, you know what I mean, the last 3, 4, 5, 6 games, right? I'm talking about the production from the top guys. Like you said, a few empty netters in there kind of saved their big against their stats a little bit there. But on a night like tonight, again, I was excited for the night. I was excited for the matchup. I felt that it was going to be a fun hockey game, a good hockey game. You battle your heart out, you lose 3-2. It's all good. It's life, you know what I mean? You battle your hearts out, you win 4-1, great, awesome, this one just kind of felt like, blah, you know what I mean? Like, kind of let you wanting more, obviously, because
I'm not upset that the Avs lost. Enough. I'm upset with how they lost.
That's my point. So it's like kind of left you wanting more a lot all night, and that's for me disappointing. On a big night like tonight.
Yeah, it felt like the Avs left a lot on the table tonight. And don't get me wrong, this goes beyond the stars. You needed more from everybody tonight, except for maybe Mackenzie Blackwood. I thought Mackenzie Blackwood played a good game. Credit to him. Yep. He held Winnipeg to 2. Like, he did his job tonight.
It's the only thing you can do, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the last game was Georgiev. He had played well too. Remember, it was 1-0, right? Same thing. It just kind of feels this. I mean, it was Avs played a good game, but they didn't, break through. Hellebuyck. Where tonight they didn't play a good game, and they still didn't get through Hellebuyck. So it is what it is, and now he's in your head a little bit. That's normal. I don't care what people say. He's in your head. The next time you play them, you're going to be like, okay, well, it's time we score a goal on this dude. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yep.
Good or bad, or don't want to give flowers. So you got to give flowers a little bit too. They played tight checking. They talk about checking and being above pucks. And, they, again, was the fight back that much for them? Probably not. You know what I mean? That's why we're disappointed. That's why we're talking about it right now. But they were there and they did the job they had to do. So kudos to them. And again, most of the used word, again, the same word, missed opportunity for the Avs.
Yeah, missed opportunity is a good way to put it. Eric, I got a question for you.
Just,
Where is the worst smell you've ever experienced?
I told you, I don't know why it's in my head. And freaking Carolina Hurricanes, the towel smells like fish, dirty fish in Carolina.
Well, you can avoid the dirty fish towels by making sure you use Mando. Get on it
Yes.
today. Wherever you stink, Mando can take care of it, whether it's your pits, your belly buttons, your balls, your butt cracks, or your grundles. They have you fully covered over at Mando with a ton of different scents, whether it's bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or pro sport. Get with Mando today. Make sure you're clean, smart, feeling good, living life. Of course, they have more than just deodorants, too. Tons of different products for you to use when it comes to Mando. Their starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, you can get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Once you're smelling good and wash the stench of this game off you, make sure you're also getting yourself a good dinner with Sexy Pizza. Jump in with Sexy Pizza today. The Avs certainly didn't go to Sexy Pizza tonight, so make sure you get yourself there because someone's got to go. Sexy Pizza, of course, more than your average by-the-slice eatery. They're dedicated to top-quality eats with civic and community interaction. They regularly sponsor a bunch of different community events, whether that's a fundraiser or supporting local sports teams from high schools all the way down to elementary schools, you name it. Sexy Pizza has the community's back. So take a look at their everyday specials today because they sell slices all day, every day. And if you go to a location that sells beer, you can upgrade their special with a beer and your pizza. DNVR fans can get 15% off with code DNVR15 online or in store. Sexy Pizza, serving sustainability, community, and hand-tossed pizza in Colorado. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I don't know that we need to go too in-depth on every little detail of the Avs' poor play tonight. I think we saw some of the same issues.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I got a question on your ad there. What's again? This is gonna sound What's your grundles? What's that? Grundles.
Do you know what a taint is?
Gotcha. All right. I wasn't sure. All right. SAT word of the day. Grundle. I gotcha. You're learning every day.
This game smelled like an unclean grundle. I'll put it that way for sure.
All right, go back, carry on.
Yeah. So look, the Avs didn't play very well. Disappointing on a lot of aspects in that regard. Sure, fine. What do you do with the power play at this point, E? I know you talked a lot tonight and over the past week about the Avalanche being stubborn. How do you get them to stop being so stubborn, particularly on that power play?
Yeah, again, this is my take. I agree with Bednar and the coaching staff when they talk about it all the time. You know, power play is rolling at 40%, 50%. You're on a little short span there, and you're like, wow, I get it. But it's not right now.
You're one for your last 17.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot of those stretches this season. You know what I mean? It's been a few times it gets like that. It gets bad and it gets worse, and it doesn't go anywhere. This is my take on it. I understand. I call them artists all the time. They're artists. You gotta let them be creative. I'm all for it. I get that. But there's got to be a censor. You know, there's got to be a censor where when it's not working, then everybody's on the same page. That there's a very annoying noise, like, wah, you know what I mean? Where all of a sudden you can't force it. You just can't force it. So then you bring it up top and shoot. And I say it, a shooting power play for me is a productive power play. As far as the Avalanche is concerned, we have animals, and not just artists, but artists that are animals. They can go for 2 minutes. MacKinnon, they can go for 2 minutes. Moose can go for 2 minutes. We see Makar all the time kind of dragging. Not that he's not an animal. He just, he can't log more than a minute, 20, minute 10. Then he's got to get off. I get it. I get it. And I hate the fact that they stay 2 minutes. I've said that for 2 years now. Yeah. I can't stand it. At some point, Val hurts you. We all know that. When Val's around, and they've had those stretches as well with Val, in the lineup. But I do believe when Val's back, and that gives you one more person, to play on the power play. I do believe you go 2 units. We lived it. Avalanche 1.0. I go back to it all the time because I always say it, not because I want to talk about 1.0, just because it was such similar teams, being top heavy. And but we had Sakic Forsberg, and a lot of times they were 2 different power plays. I got no problem with a little competition. I like competition. And you have a minute, you better go do something. And one time you guys start, the other time the other guys start. And that's how we used to do it. And we always had great power plays. Guys were at the top of the league in scoring all the time. Joe, Peter, the list goes on. But I don't know. At some point, you have so many good personnel people, like, you know what I mean? Guys that barely get any playing time on the second power play, as we know, because it's on average like 12 seconds. You know what I mean? So there's not much you can do if your entry doesn't work, if it's over. I like to split up. Are they ever going to do that? Probably not. That's just me. I believe in competition. I believe in, a little urgency. I think it does bring you a little bit more urgency. You're not so lackadaisical. You got 2 minutes, and you have 1 minute each. If you don't score, then you better get off at 1 minute, because I'm going to yank you. You know what I mean? And that's how we used to do it back then. So many good players, and there's so many good players on this Avalanche 2.0 team that you can easily make 2 power play units and still be effective, in my book. But I'll firmly believe, I go back to it, a shooting power play is a productive power play. And I'm all for the beautiful pass and the beautiful thing, but I just haven't seen it this year where it's been consistently good at all times. It's been good for some, 8, 9 games, then it goes to crap. You know what I mean? Like, so I just feel that it hasn't been really consistent. That's my opinion on it. I would just split things up and then just go. You know what I mean? Because it's such a crucial part of the game, especially after the break like this and going into the playoffs. Power plays can sink you, as much as PKs will sink you and goaltending will sink you. Well, your power play, if it's not doing the job, boy, oh boy, you're going to have a few to kill against you, because this league is all about, we all know that. And sorry, Jax, but it's just reality. And then if you're not scoring on yours and the other team does, there goes the game. So it's a very important piece of a game. They do practice it every day. Every day they practice it. I just think right now, I don't think it's a coaching staff thing. I don't think it's a direction thing. I think it's a stubbornness problem between artists. And then, I don't want to say divas, but I'll use that word, you know what I mean? Like singers, divas, whatever. And at some point, like, you just got to snap out of it and right, you just got to play a little country. Grab your guitar and a stool and just play. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what they need to do. They just need to be a little bit more simple and dirty and greasy. And, and once you do that, you want to go back to your 38 passes, then awesome. Good for you. But at least you were productive for a little bit before that.
At one point this year, this was a top 3 power play in the league. Today, it's 16th.
Absolutely. There's a big difference. It's been a slide.
I'm sorry, but the people that play, especially on the top power play unit for the Avs, are too talented for this power play to be 16th in the league. You can't have a league average power play with those guys on your power play. And I don't think this is a coaching issue or anything. This is go look at your best players and say, figure it out, man. You cannot keep doing what you're doing because it's not working. So you need to do something different.
Yeah, because what they'll do is they'll just, again, that's where the word stubborn comes from, is they'll try, but it's not working. And they'll
Yep.
try and try. And then what happens is then you don't even get puck possession. You don't retrieve pucks. You didn't even, you didn't have a shot attempt. And next thing you know, you have to clear the zone and come back again. And then it takes, 20, 30 seconds to do so. Next thing you know, then you're forcing a play again. And you're forcing that seam pass again. And then it's not there. You got to go change it, and the power play is wasted. I mean, God, like I just feel that they should have some triggers, where it's like it's 1, 2. If it doesn't work, then it's back up top and shoot. Back up top and shoot. It creates. I say it again. I'll say it every night. Creates broken plays. You can't defend broken plays because it's chaos. It is a pure, absolutely, whatever you want to call that, raging fire. I mean, maybe I shouldn't use that word tonight, honestly. I apologize. No, I mean, I wasn't trying to be funny about the fires in California. I was saying, but you know what I mean? It just is, it's absolutely chaotic. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And just because you made the defenseman's feet turn, you know what I mean? And then as you're turning, you're trying to catch a puck, and then there's 5 of you, 4 of them. You should retrieve the puck. I don't care what people say. You should. If you have passion, a little bit of emotion, a little heart, you should get on top of the puck. But again, it hasn't happened. There's not enough shooting, when it stems from the power play. That's my opinion. And I agree with you. I don't think it's a coaching thing. No, I think those guys are there, and you're going to give parameters and some plays to the guys, and they'll work together. And you got to remember that's your leadership core. Those are your highest paid players. They have an input. They have a say in this. And I'm not saying it's run by the asylum. That's not what I said. But you make some sort of, leading scorer in the league or second leading scorer in the league, whatever it is. You feel a play's going to make. You're not going to ask for permission on the ice. You're just not. You know what I mean? You're just going to
Yeah.
do what you feel's going to go. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, then it's so be it. And you're like, hey, I tried
Look,
something, and I'll try it again.
you can set up whatever systems you want. At the end of the day, it's a decision getting made by Nathan MacKinnon to try that seam pass for the 600th time instead of shooting the puck.
Yep.
It's
It's just
eh,
there.
the players make those decisions at the end of the day. And I promise you, the Avs power play system design is not designed for Nathan MacKinnon to throw pucks into the sticks of their opponents in the middle of the ice. That's not what they're going for. I'll tell you that much.
like when they pulled, like when they had the goalie pull at the end of the game there, and they're
Yeah.
all trying that. See, it's not there. It's
Yep.
not there. Then you change it up.
Yep.
But they just seem to be so like hard nosed about not changing it, and keep trying it. That it's costing them some points right now in the standing, and it's certainly making them go down from third. As a PP unit in the league to 16, like you just mentioned right now. That's what makes you. That's what pushes you down.
And that's fine. It wasn't a very good game, and no one's going to sit here and sugarcoat it. Again, I really don't know that there's a single thing redeemable from this game beyond Mackenzie Blackwood. Maybe you have something, but there really isn't much.
I mean, like I said to you, it was just not very passionate for me. Um, and
Yeah,
I think
no,
what
that's the
easiest,
right word.
yeah, and I think the easiest way to look at it is draw a circle and put all the numbers around the circle and go one by one. You know what I mean? Take the goalie aside. Perfect. Go by the. Is this Kale McCarr's best game? Is this Devontae's best game? Is this And if the answer is mostly no, you're not going to win that type of game tonight against a team
Forget best
that's
game.
hot.
How many of these guys played their average caliber game tonight?
Yeah, well said. Better said than what I said. Yeah, they played up to their potential, like what they are.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I think you're going to get a lot of no's. And a lot of coaches, like our good old friend Rick Tockett will say, he calls, a lot of people call it passengers. He's like, too many passengers. Tough to win if you have 10 passengers out of 20. Same thing. I think you're going to be surprised looking at every name, and then you'll be like, oh God, yeah, oof, yikes, oh boy. You know what I mean? Then you're like, oh no, no crap, they didn't win. You know what I mean? So there's the answer's right there in front of you. You know what I mean? And that just that stings. That's why I said those are
Yeah.
those are the ones that make you look back and it makes you mad, because you're like, God, I could have been better.
Yeah. And again, it's not worried about it. I know we're going to get to some of these questions later, but the one in there from Roberto who says, how do you fix the lack of passion or stubbornness? We kind of talked about the stubbornness already. I think that'll get sorted out over a longer span of the season. It's not something I'm worried about. And I'm even less worried about the passion. The fact is, and people don't like to hear this, but the Colorado Avalanche, the entire goal of the regular season is just to get into the playoffs. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. And if you see a lack of passion like this in a playoff game from the Colorado Avalanche, if the Avs are in a situation where they're fighting to make the playoffs and you see a game like this, yeah, that's a huge, huge problem. But you won't. You won't see that. You see this lack of passion in a stretch of hockey games in January, in the middle of the season, where everyone's kind of going through the motions. The Avs feel like, okay, they survived the starting portion of the season where they worked their butts off to stay 500. And then they went on a big run to get themselves 10 games above 500 and comfortable in the standings a little bit. This has been a little bit of a stretch of letdown games for the Avs. No doubt about that. But this is not a long-term passion problem for the Colorado Avalanche.
No, I think you just said it perfectly, and a lot of people will tell you you can't just turn on the switch come playoff time. That is true. I don't believe you can just play and then you turn on the switch, you go. But you got to remember the Avalanche after 4 games, so basically 7 days at the start of the year, they were in a big, gigantic hole. So all of a sudden they had to fight and for everything they got. They were fighting the injury bug. Obviously, they were fighting the Natushkin thing. Obviously, the Gabe thing. Everybody was talking about it earlier in the year. They were fighting, the bad goaltending. They were fighting so many things that somewhere somehow they're usually on top of their passion game. Passion can be described or interpreted very differently from different types of people too. But for the most part, the Avalanche they play hard. They do the right things. From the top producers in the league to the depth guys to now the goaltending, and the coaches. They do everything. They're not the most vocal group. That's why Blackwood and the Woodshed brothers, the Home Depot dudes, are a good fit there because they do lively up the place. But everybody for the most part usually is on top of their passion, right? And that's why they're a good franchise. That's why they're a top of the line franchise. That's why those guys are. The Avalanche have had a successful season so far. It's been good. Again, it's been challenging at times, but it's been good considering everything. It could be a lot more disastrous. And now we all know they're going to go in an upswing, and they have been on an upswing for the last 10, 12 games. They lead the league. Forget about tonight. They have the best record in the league since December 14th. I think Brendan tweeted that this morning, but they are the number one team in the league since December 14th. So they're doing something right. The passion is usually there, and the talent. And doesn't mean that you don't have talent. It doesn't mean if you have talent, then you don't have passion. No, I mean, MacKinnon's got a lot of talent. He's also a very passionate player. You know what I mean? Mikko's very passionate. Kale's very passionate, and they're excellent players. So, listen, it wasn't on top of their list tonight. It's never on purpose. That's just the way things unfolded, and they weren't near enough passionate to pull out that win. And I hope anyone at the end wasn't watching this with the goalie empty, that they were just about to get
that
back
whole
in this
period was a
game.
team going.
I
through the
really
motions, let's be
felt
honest,
like this is going nowhere. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this is going nowhere.
You could feel it. You could just feel it.
Yeah.
What you don't have to feel and what you could actually watch, though, we're on TV. Did you know?
Yes.
We're actually on a handful of
Yes.
TV, whether it's Samsung TV or Xfinity, also an option. You can see all of the other options where you can watch us there. You use the QR code to find our channel anywhere. On Xfinity specifically, it's channel 4072. Obviously, we appreciate our people on YouTube. You can jump in the chat that way and have a conversation with us. We'll probably answer some questions later in the show. But if you're a person who likes watching the cable television way or whatever that might be, you can watch us right on your TV. We have a 24/7 channel. So even if you miss us, you can watch old shows at any time and, of course, catch all of our lives on our channel, whether it be on any one of those television services, including Xfinity. So go support us today. If you're not supporting us here on YouTube, check us out on TV too. It's a great way to follow DNVR. And of course, you can always support us by becoming a diehard over on thednvr.com. We know some of you only listen to the podcast on audio style. You can do that, of course, and support all of our writing that AJ does over on the website. Tons of awesome content for you guys at all times. So make sure you jump in one way or another with us, whether TV or not. And after, you're watching us on TV, maybe you got to drive into work. Maybe you're listening to us while you're driving into work. I know how it is driving into the sun. You got to get yourself some shady rays to make your vision, better. You can get prescription sunglasses and shady rays, but also don't go blind staring into the sun. That's why you wear sunglasses. You get 35% off any pair of their polarized sunglasses with code DNVR over at shadyrays.com. I don't know if those shady rays work quite as well, but tons of different choices to choose from, different colors, different styles, something for everyone. And the coolest part is in the first 30 days, if you don't like them, you lose them or you break them, you can replace them entirely for free with Shady Rays. So head to shadyrays.com today and use that DNVR code to get 35% off today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Look, there's one other conversation that a lot of people were having tonight, and I was pretty vocal about this on the watch along. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Casey Middlestat played well. He was the Avs' worst possession player, gave up a gaggle of high danger chances against while he was on the ice. He was not good tonight. You even saw at the start of the game, the Avs started with Juuso Parssinen as the 2C over Middlestat. Middlestat started the game at 3C. Now they moved Middlestat back to 2C pretty quickly because that's what Bednar does when he's trying to generate offense. He tries to put his best players in the game as much as possible. I lay a lot more blame on the Avs top players than I do Middlestat tonight. When you score 0 goals, it's your top players that didn't get the job done more than it is anyone behind them. But nonetheless, Middlestat's name has started to become a recurring conversation of they need more out of the guy at this point.
Yeah, and I really thought he would have snapped out of it a few games back when he tipped that goal. The consistency hasn't been there. I just don't see the swag in his game right now. I don't see it. I felt that last year he had some swag in the playoffs. Obviously, he was confident with the puck. He was confident with his decision making. He was good in his own end. He created stuff from behind the net. I just don't see the swag right now. I see some holding the stick tight. I see not a confident player at all. And you got to remember, he'd be the first one to tell you he hasn't liked his last 20 games. You know what I mean? Like he's got high expectations for himself. I don't think this is a guy that points fingers. I'm kind of getting antsy because I want him to get going. You want him to get going. Fans want to get him going. Teammates want to get him going. And when you see a night like tonight, again, I've said that to you before, you see a bagel there, a 0. It's not fun. You know, maybe because you feel that you let your buddy down or you let the top guys down. And then the top guys feel that they let you down because they're the ones that get all the good power play and the good ice in the 25 minutes a night. So it's just a letdown feeling by everyone. And it's just not – that's why it's not very joyful to lose a game in that manner. That flight is like kind of tonight is probably like I want to throw up that flight. You know what I mean? Because you just try to be quiet and you don't want to be stupid and so for the most part the bus ride is tough to the airport. Then settling to your seat in the airplane and guys obviously put their stuff down and they take their suits off and they put those compression boots on and everything. It's amazing what guys do to recover, but all of a sudden it's just quiet, it's crappy, it's sucky, it's not fun. It's just not fun. You know what I mean? And then you just kind of look back and, okay, we could have fixed that. You know what I mean? We could have done this. And that's when, again, like I said, that's where the regrets that I talked about earlier come from.
Fair enough. I'm still not as worried, I think, as a lot of people are about Middlestat. I think he'll be fine. I think he's shown enough of flashes at 2C that, yes, he needs to be better. I'm not trying to argue anyone with that. This last stretch of games, he put together one decent stretch. He had 3 points in 5 games, and you start to feel like he was coming out of it, like he said, and then it was kind of right back into the tank for him. So it's in there somewhere. He's got to find it, but I think he will still. But he has to start doing it eventually. It does have to come eventually. So we'll see.
He's just got to get involved, maybe a little more, and you know what I mean. Get involved. I'm not saying fighting. I'm saying get involved. Like let's go. Be at the forefront. Don't be just leaking in the back in the weeds, and just get to the forefront. Do the right things defensively, which he usually does. You know what I mean. But make some big plays and get yourself invested emotionally in the game. And even though it's not your style, like he's not a rah-rah guy, sometimes you got to be the rah-rah guy. So and then all of a sudden you challenge yourself, not even knowing, you know what I mean, and then you snap out of it. So there's a lot you can
do. I agree. You just, like you said, at a certain point you have to start trying different stuff. What? Even forget about on the ice. Have a different routine before the game. Eat something different. Do something to shake things up a little bit. And again, this is more for Middlestat's long stretch of bad hockey. The Avs not showing up tonight is not a consistent issue across the course of the season. It's not anything you need to overthink. You can take this game and essentially throw it in the garbage. The Avs know they need to be better, and they will be better. So that is what it is. It doesn't make it any more fun, though. It doesn't. And I truly, when I say throw this game's footage in the garbage, I truly mean it. I don't know how you can look at the third period and say, oh, the Avs need to do this better, need to do this better, need to do that better. Every single part of this game is infected with a lack of engagement from the Colorado Avalanche where, they do need to go win the battles better. And you do that by playing engaged hockey and showing the effort you need to show when it comes to the details of the game. There is no do this X's and O's thing better that will make you more effective. It's just go make the plays.
And you said do something different. I believe in that. And that's why a coach does what he does sometimes. Like you saw a little bit tonight. Like he'll demote you somewhere because he's just doing something different. You know what I mean? So he'll demote you to the fourth line, like 5 games ago, like whatever game that was. And again, it didn't last long because who was it that got hurt that? Oh, Val got hurt that game, and then all of a sudden he's pushed back up. But that's why coaches do that. They just do. They're trying to send you a message. Again, like I said to you, the only thing you can do to a hockey player is take away his ice time. That's the only thing that works. I don't care what people say. That's how you get to them. That is not tough love. That is not like, old school take. No, that's not. All of a sudden, if somebody doesn't want to do it, it's not clicking. If you're taking away ice time, it will. Trust me, it will click at some point because they all want their ice time. You know what I mean? They do. Yep. And then it will click in. And then it will be like, oh, okay, that's what you mean by it. Until then, it's like Varley back then in his selective English. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Now it's a little selective of what I want to hear from you. You know what I mean? But if you start taking away the cookies, that's where it hurts. It hurts. So then you really got to fight for what you need, and it's tough.
You played on some pretty good teams in your career, obviously here in Colorado, some of those LA teams, some of those New York teams. How often do losses like this happen to high-end hockey teams?
It does. And to me, again, I hate that word because it's just an excuse, but it's a reality. The word fatigue, it's a reality. I remember for me, I think the best team, 96, 97 Avalanche, we won the President's Cup. President's Trophy. No, that was, we won the President's Trophy. Obviously, they won the Cup the summer before, right? 95, 96. Yeah. And then it was the World Cup. And I do believe that fatigue set in. And just You want to do well, you want to do good, you want to have passion, and he just didn't have enough. He didn't have enough, and the Detroit Red Wings were hungrier. They didn't, win the year before. They lost to the Avalanche, so they had a few more weeks of a break, and then they were the regular season champs, and they didn't, go through in the playoffs. So that's a disappointment, and I just feel that, I mean, at some point you run out of gas, and it's just a fact. You know what I mean? So I do believe sometimes those games which you don't see that many from the Avalanche, you see a handful of them. I do believe that they are blamed on fatigue. I told you before the game that can't use, GM Montreal Canadiens. It's the same thing. He's like, there was no way they were going to win that game, after that crazy road trip, and they did, and it's just all of a sudden it's a confidence booster. Then it's like then you start believing, but at the end of the day, you're running on fumes. I mean, they're going to get punched in the face here coming up. Why? Because that road trip's going to have its whatever you want to call that, like the damage will have been done. You know what I mean? And this week it's crazy. I didn't even know what the score was tonight. I didn't even look, but to go back home tonight, play Dallas, it's like I'm talking about them just because I was with them last night.
Dallas, for the record.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I'm talking about Montreal. Who cares about Montreal? I'm trying to say one team out of 32, like the Avalanche, where there's nights where you just don't have a chance. You just don't have it. You're just too tired and if the puck, I always remember then why play the game. I as well put it as a loss. No, you call that a schedule loss, but a lot of times it won't happen because you have puck luck. You play a perfect game. Your goalie stones them. You know what I mean? Like all the way to 0 goals against. You know what I mean? Where it just didn't happen. Those things didn't happen tonight for the Avalanche. So it's a fact. It's a reality. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it sure is there.
Yep. Excuses are. I'm not saying excuses aren't valid, but good wins are usually because you overcome something that could have been an excuse, right? So you got to find a way to overcome it. I really don't think we have a whole lot more to say about this game specifically, so we're going to take a quick pause here, and then we'll answer some listener questions here. We'll pause right now. All right. I think we have a couple super chats. Let's hit those first, and then we'll get questions from the rest of the chat. Our first super chat here from WB for $14 or $10. Yeah, $10. Thank you very much. Poor effort tonight and top line too often trying to, I can't read it from here. I don't know. It's super fuzzy on this. Hang on. I'll find it.
One?
I can read it too, Rue.
Oh, there you go. Tiff can read it.
Okay. Poor effort tonight and top line too often trying to win big games with skills instead of grit. Time for Bednar to mix it up, move Rance to second line, Colton to 2C, and Mitzi to 3C. Power play needs Colton or Nick.
Yeah, the Avs do at times. I don't think it's the use of the skill, it's the lack of the grit, right? Because like Eric said, they're artists. At a certain level, you have to let them do what they do. But then they need to also add into those plays the hard work, the effort, the winning the puck battles, the acquiring rebounds. And more important than all of that, understand the game situation. Time and time again, this year that I have a problem with the Avs stars is you play 2 periods of a game and all of your passing is not resulting in a high volume of shots. So you have to simplify. You have to start shooting the puck more instead of falling into the trap of continuing to doing what you're doing. That's what Eric's talking about when he's saying, hey, they need to change it up. They need to do something different. You have to be aware of the game that you're in and what's going on. When the skill plays aren't working, go hard to the net, go win a board battle, throw pucks at the net, do those simple things. We kind of talked about it. They tried Parssinen at 2C for a little bit tonight. It was fine. Parssinen was actually a good possession player for them, but there's a skill gap there. Even with Middlestat in the slump that he is, he's a more skilled player than any other 2C they have an option for. So they kind of just need him to break through at a certain point. Then we had another super chat from KC, which I can I have this one pulled up. So almost midnight here in Nova Scotia. Good night, Rudo, Big Daddy E, Tiff, and chat. Sucks the Avs got shut out, but there's always next game to look forward to. Rock on, shake your asses, live well. Thanks for the pod. Appreciate you, Casey. Always good to have some positive vibes around, even if they're not getting brought by me. So
we were wondering what province you were in, so I'm glad you cleared that up for us.
does Nova Scotia the weird half-hour one? Nah, that's New Brunswick, right? That's the one way far east.
Newfoundland.
Okay, got it.
That's where I was. Nova Scotia's like Halifax, those big towns. Cape Breton. Great people.
Yep. Yeah, all the Newfies are cool. Yeah, do we have some other chat questions?
Yeah, I got you if you want me to read them.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find these.
Okay.
So,
one from Roberto. It says, seems like they lack fire or aggression or emotion, as E likes to say. How do you fix that? Where does it come from? Missing a center? Coaching?
on the whole, I don't think they lack it, but go ahead, E.
No, I meant to say, you got to remember, maybe on a night like tonight, they didn't have it. Overall, they're the best team in the National Hockey League since December 14th, so they're pretty good. But again, when I talk about tonight, sure. Overall, no, usually it is there. You know what I mean? It's a good team. It's a passionate team. The only thing that worries me a little bit is they need to be a little heavier. They need to remember a little bit 2022, how hard it was to score goals, to manufacture goals, and how greasy they had to get. There was some beautiful goals, but there was a lot of dirty goals, right? Remember those Kadri goals and Lecky and, even Mac and everyone and Gabe. Everyone had some dirty goals. I mean, because it's tough in the playoffs. You got to be able to bring your you crank it up a notch, 2 or 3 or 4 notches, and play. But I'm not worried about the passion. I'm more worried about the grit, night in, night out. Just you got to be a little more heavy. And then I think Randy sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I think it's hard to argue the passion as a whole this year. You don't have to go that far back in this season to remember the Avs regularly coming back in hockey games, sticking with it, going through it. Certainly back before they traded for these goaltenders, but also just looked back to the last Buffalo game. This is a team that on most nights does not quit. I do think this was probably a stretch of hockey where it was coming. I think the initial burst of getting quality goaltending sent the Avs on a great streak and everything went well. And then it's human nature to get a little bit too comfortable to say, hey, we've got this great goaltending. We can rely on it. And you let your foot off the gas a little bit and you stop producing goals at the level that you need to be producing. And it's not every night. Obviously, they dropped 6 on Dallas the other night. But the Avs are learning that lesson right now of, hey, just because we have good goaltending doesn't mean that we can take nights off.
Yeah, you still got to score, and then, and then I think Randy brought up a healthy scratch. Here's my take on healthy scratches. When it comes down to upper tier guys, you know what I mean, like top 6 and top 4 Ds, and it's a different kind of healthy scratch than scratching a fourth liner. That's scratching a 60. It really is. Now, do I think that it can be detrimental to a player? No. I think it's all in the presentation. I've always felt that it's always been all in the presentation, how you communicate with the player, and you explain to him steps too. Like, this is what's happening, this is what you're going to need to do, or this is what will happen. Once you do that, again, I said it earlier, only thing you can do is take away their ice time. And when you do that, it seems to resonate in your head. I don't know why. It's just, and they're good people. If we're talking about Casey here, for example, he's a good person. He's a good player. He will be valuable down the stretch. He just is lost a little bit right now. And sometimes the way to lose it, and I know people think it's the the cliche, like, oh, go look upstairs and, like go upstairs in the press box. First of all, scratches a lot of times don't even go upstairs. They hang out in the locker room watching on TV. So it's the old saying of, got to go watch from the press box and watch up top, But it's not about that. It's having a little reset button and say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is what it's come down to. So I got to, like Rudo said earlier, change it up, do something else. You know what I mean? So change your preparation, change this, and then just have a reset button. And as a coach, it's like, okay, I'm going to scratch him tonight. And maybe he's going to come back stronger. I'm not trying to punish him. I'm not trying to embarrass him. I'm not trying to show him up. It's just that this is where we're at.
I understand it mechanically from trying to get a player going or send a message or whatever, but you have to look at where the Avalanche are at. They had to play 11 forwards the other night, and you're going to scratch a guy? No chance. Right? It's just not realistic.
I know. I agree with that point. That's on top of it, then you got to see where you're at.
Yeah. Do we have any more?
From Andrew, real question here. Would trading for a player who used to play with Hellebuck make a difference? Just pointers from an ex-Jet or an ex-goalie coach?
I mean, could it make a difference? Sure. Does it matter? I don't think so. You don't have to look that far back. The Avs lit up Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs last year. I don't think that that's something they necessarily need. Goalies have good nights. Hellebuck has had a couple. I wouldn't even say Hellebuck was that good tonight. Yes, obviously he made all the saves he needed to, but tonight was way more about the Avs not challenging nearly enough as they needed to against him.
I agree with that 100%. Nothing to add more.
And then these two kind of just go off the Casey conversation. Rudo, is it critical enough that he may be traded from Randy? And then if you could pick a steady winger for Mitzi, who would you get?
I'd get Val Nichushkin. Is it critical enough that he can be traded? Right now, I would say no. I will also say it's a business. Anyone at any time can get traded in the NHL. If there is the right return, it absolutely could happen. If the Avs believe they can go out and trade Casey Middlestat for a better 2C than Casey Middlestat, why wouldn't you do that? I think the reality of that option is slim to none. I think it's going to be very difficult to find an available 2C that is better than Casey Middlestat that the Avs can also afford both in assets and in cap hit. And I think it's too early to really be exploring that conversation. I said it on a show the other day. Yeah, if you get to the end of February and Middlestat is still in this slump, then maybe you start having that conversation with the deadline coming up. Maybe you explore your options and see what's out there. But it's really, really hard to find top 6 players that are better than what you already have out there, unless you have a giant hole in your lineup, which, again, even with the lack of production, even with the struggles that Casey Middlestat has had at this point in the season, this year he's still produced like a low-end 2C. So to do better, you have to go get a high-end 2C at worst. And that's hard to do.
Only thing I can add about Casey is it's a learning period for him as well. You got to remember, he's not a second-year player. He's a bit older than that, but he's still a young player, and he's never been on a championship caliber team. He's always been on a non-playoff team in Buffalo. Last year he comes in, you're under shock after a trade. It's almost the end of the season. Then it's playoffs. It's exciting. And then this is new. I got to find this new system, and how do I play? And then he gets in the playoffs as well. This is his first full year to understand how hard it is to have the daily habits, how hard it is every day to be thinking like a champion and be champion-minded and wanting to win. And he's just going through the ups and downs right now of, being on the type of team that the Avalanche are. And I think he's going to be more than fine. But he is searching a little bit, looking for himself a little bit. Absolutely. I think you'd be reckless not to say so. But I'm not worried about him. I do believe something's going to click. Is it like Rudo said, Nichushkin? Is it? I don't know. He's a little bit. Something's going to happen where all of a sudden he's gonna be a force down the stretch there and really fill his role to his capabilities.
And I would say, especially, you should know that the Avalanche organization has always been patient with these things. What happens if you trade Casey for a guy and he has a bad 2 weeks? Do you want to trade that guy too? How quick is that trigger? at times the Avs organization can be overpatient. I think you look at maybe the Georgiev situation where it had been, we're talking about 15, 16 months of poor goaltending, and it was overdue that a move got made. But a month and a half of poor play from Casey is a pretty darn quick trigger, especially to a guy who you committed to for 3 years this offseason.
100%.
Last one.
100%. But I mean, but I think it's fair. I think it's fair to bring everything up, those questions, because it's play.
Yeah.
As dictated.
Having the conversation
Absolutely.
is legit. Yeah.
Last one, just kind of house cleaning, just because we'll be off for a couple of days. Any news on Sammy?
He's still day-to-day, according to the organization, but they don't practice tomorrow, so we won't have a real update until Monday on G. So
that's it.
It is what it is. No, that's it? Cool.
That's it.
Sweet. That did go about an hour, too, so things lined up. That's the end of this one. Again, not a particularly good game. Throw it in the bin and move on with your life. We are off tomorrow. We're also going to be off Monday, but at least for Tiff and I, we are heading down to the PWHL game tomorrow at Ballarita. So if you want to say hi, hit me up, send me a DM or something. We can come say hi if you're going to the game. Always a fun time. Do stuff like that. We're also going to be off Monday, so we can get 2 days off in a row for the first time since the Christmas break for us, basically. So we're going to enjoy the next 2 days off, but we'll be back Tuesday, and then we'll be live 5 days in a row for you next week, bringing you games and off-day pods and all of that good stuff. So like and subscribe here on DNVR, or if you're watching us on whatever television channel, we appreciate y'all. We are out of here for the night, and we will talk to you on the next one.
We all silly like the mayor.